JBN, we keep you informed. St. Mary man charged with shooting and illegal possession of firearm. The Centon police have charged 28-year-old Kevin Mitchell, otherwise called Frost, a laborer of Retreat, St. Mary, with illegal possession of firearm and ammunition, as well as 3 counts of shooting with intent. The police report that about 9:35 p.m. on Thursday, January 17, 2019, Mitchell pulled a firearm on the complainant and a relative. They managed to disarm him and he fled the community. He was subsequently arrested by the Rockabessa police in relation to a sexual offense. Further investigations resulted in Mitchell being identified and charged for the previous offenses in addition to the sexual offenses. He is scheduled to appear before the court on Friday, July 24. Cyclist killed by truck on Mandela Highway. 25-year-old O'Shane Slater of Strathmore Gardens, St. Catherine, died from injuries he received in a collision on the Mandela Highway in the parish on Tuesday, June 23. Reports from the Caymanas police are that about 7:20 p.m., Slater was riding his bicycle towards Spanish Town when he was hit by the driver of a motor truck traveling in the same direction. The police were called and Slater was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. The driver of the motor truck has been warned for prosecution. Former cops want harsher punishment for rogue officers and a stricter recruitment process. Left angry, deflated, and embarrassed by the recent arrest of 3 St. James-based police officers on drug-related charges in the United States, some former cops are calling on the Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF to carry out more intense screening during recruitment. This thing is very disheartening and embarrassing. While I am no longer a serving member, I still respect the organization and take no delight in seeing its image being tarnished in this way, said a former lawman who served in all 4 western parishes before calling time on his career. If we are to be successful in bringing back law and order to our society, we need the support of ordinary citizens. If citizens see the police as criminals in uniform, they will neither support nor respect them, said the former cop. The time must come for the hierarchy to stop paying lip service to corruption in the force and begin to do something tangible about it. Serious issues such as the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and the Sahara dust plume have been playing second fiddle to the arrest of woman Constable Charmaine Latoya Gooden, Constable Draymore Graham, and Constable Trevon Davidson by customs and law enforcement agents in the U.S. They were this week slapped with drug charges. Another former police officer raised questions about the JCF's recruitment process. In my time, they would send people into your district to speak to pastors, teachers, and other reputable persons about your background. If your background was not spotless, you couldn't go to training school, said the former policeman. I don't know how the background checks are done these days, but some of the people I am seeing in uniform today couldn't even walk near our barracks in my time. He added, I know the force is short on numbers, but why sacrifice quality for quantity? We need to keep undesirable persons out of the force. While each police division has a system to discipline errant officers, the former cops believe it is not strict enough. In years gone by, when a policeman commits an infraction, he would be summoned to the orderly room, and if found guilty, he could lose a few days of pay or even face suspension, noted one of the ex-cops. Regular offenders and those persons who end up in our court of inquiry for serious offenses are usually not re-enlisted. He believes that the JCF should make examples out of cops found to have criminal connections or commit criminal offenses as a deterrent to others. As for those that commit crimes and are found guilty in a court of law, they should get twice the sentence that a regular citizen would get, he added. We need to make it clear that criminality brings serious consequences. Holness tells stakeholders that more money needed to build out security architecture. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has admitted to weaknesses in the country's national security infrastructure as he bemoaned the lack of investment over time to build out Jamaica's security architecture. Yesterday, at a meeting with stakeholders on crime, Holness said that the public has not yet fully appreciated the dynamic between crime and violence and national security. The Prime Minister said that over the years, the country has taken an unsophisticated approach to national security, while criminals find new ways to operate. Our opinion leaders, our political leaders, our academics have largely focused on crime for good reasons. Crime is the hot button. It is at a sensitive point where the public actually now feels the impact of weak national security. There is a separation in the minds of the public between national security and crime and violence. In the Jamaican sense, we treat crime and violence as home affairs. Our crime and violence cannot be considered to be home affairs, Holness reasoned. The Prime Minister said that Jamaica's crime problem is not all domestic disputes and petty crimes. He said many of the crimes in Jamaica were being fueled by external forces. As our state evolves and the world around us evolves, there are new and emerging threats, which, if not addressed, will undermine the validity of the state. It will, in many ways, challenge whether or not Jamaica can be a growing concern, the Prime Minister said. Holness told the stakeholders that national security deserved the budgetary allocation that reflects its importance in keeping Jamaicans safe. We see gangs and we see murders, and we think it's just men on the corner, but we have never delved underneath to unearth all of that so that the public can make the connection between the state of their police stations, the number of cars they have to respond, and the intelligence capabilities to be able to secure our borders, the Prime Minister asserted. He also addressed the need for the country to secure its physical airspace and cyberspace, to limit those actors who are seeking to bring drugs into the island, as well as to give passage to human traffickers and illicit goods. In a thinly veiled swipe at the opposition, Holness said that he welcomed the opportunity to arrive at a consensus on crime, as it would help to remove the political grandstanding and political diversion. Jamaica has had 20 crime plans before. What Jamaica has not had is a national security plan, Holness said, as he pushed back against the opposition, which has made several calls for a crime plan. The Prime Minister said that the government has been working on a plan to secure Jamaica, which will equip the police and the military and build out the national intelligence architecture and secure the borders. Roaring River farmers to sign lease agreements with Sugar Company of Jamaica Holdings. Just under 190 farmers illegally occupying Sugar Company of Jamaica Holdings SCJH lands are to sign lease agreements with the company by the end of this month, which will allow them to continue farming on roughly 300 acres of the property. The lease agreement, which will see farmers paying perhaps one half of the $30,000 that was initially quoted by Joseph Shoucair, the SCJH managing director, said last week following recent discussions with the farmers. In May, Shoucair warned the people cultivating crops on the roughly 500 acres of lands that they should vacate the property, form an organization, and enter in lease agreements with the SCJH or face eviction. At the same time, he said that under the SCJH proposal, each farmer will be leased a minimum of 2 acres of land at a cost of roughly $30,000 per annum, adding that about 50 farmers are currently occupying the property that was originally leased to the Pan-Caribbean Sugar Company Limited for sugarcane cultivation, but was later returned to the SCJH. Pan-Caribbean had complained that the grazing of the land by stray animals had been hindering the growth of their cane, thus making the lands more of a liability. Shoucair argued last week that the intention of the SCJH and the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries is to provide farmers with formal leases to the property so that lands can be put to productive use, which will ultimately contribute towards Jamaica's food security. We have always been open to working with them. We are now in the process of getting formal leases done at the minimum cost, which will allow them to occupy the land and continue their farming. This has always been our objective, he emphasized. The agreement will state that no permanent structure will be allowed on the lands, and the lands should be used strictly for farming purposes. Roaring River resident Lee Patterson is among the farmers who have been occupying sections of the property illegally. Since March, the 52-year-old farmer has been cultivating cash crops and rearing cattle, using funds she said she borrowed from her son. Before her meeting with Shoucair, Patterson feared the worst, after she was reportedly told that applying for the land does not guarantee that they will be given it. Earlier this week, she expressed gratitude for the decisions made to formalize their tenancy. The gentleman called me and he came to talk to us and let us know that he's willing to work with us and that we can continue farming. Because I was really worried I was going to lose all of my money. My entire farm has been planted with crops, so I'm very thankful, she said. Doreen Tate, another farmer, pointed out that the grazing of the land by stray animals was one of our biggest challenges, as cows and goats owned by other farmers roamed freely and destroyed our crops. But since the meeting with Shoucair, the farmers have been allowed to erect perimeter fences. I'm extremely grateful that we're allowed to fence the farms, because they had told us before that we are not allowed to put a fence, and I had to be out there running goats every day, she said. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.